Welcome back. It was a 4-0 vote on the oil ordinance put forth by the Planning Commission just 1 week ago today, as I mentioned earlier. And it's to add thousands of new oil wells here in Kern County. And hundreds of residents phoned in and called about their concerns both for and against this action. And the meeting lasted more than 2 hours and discussed the possibility of bringing new oil wells to the county for over the next 2 decades. The ordinance has been a work in progress and has largely been discussed for years, but discontinued after environmental concerns.
Changes to the ordinance are in these three areas: the mandatory setbacks from sensitive receptors, the reduction in the annual cap and maximum number of new wells that could be drilled, and then in the SREIR, new mitigation for impacts to designated farmland, noise, and water.
Oviatt said it would bring 45,000 new oil wells, and they will keep a 300-foot distance from schools, churches, and hospitals. The Planning Commission approved the ordinance 4-0 with one person abstaining. It will now go to the Kern County Board of Supervisors for further discussion and approval. And with an anticipated date of that taking place on March 9th for that hearing, of course, we will continue to update you. And while that meeting ignited the conversation on Kern's energy industry once again, it also sparked the attention of several groups for and against the drilling of new oil wells. So joining us tonight is community organizer from the Central California Environmental Justice Network, Cesar Aguirre, and the director from Kern Citizens for Energy, Tracy Leach. Thank you both for being here tonight. We definitely appreciate it. Cesar, let's go ahead and start with you. Now, you've worked in rural parts of the county helping to educate and train residents on the negative impacts of drilling and fracking. So can you explain why your organization is opposing the oil ordinance?
Of course, as a community organizer, when we work with communities, we ask them, what is your problem? What is your issue? What is your concern? And we do our best to address those things. And in Shafter, in Arvin, in Lost Hills, in all of these rural communities, what they're concerned about is their water quality and their air quality. And peer review after peer review shows that living near oil and gas wells puts you at risk. It puts you at risk for cardiovascular diseases. It puts you at risk for respiratory diseases and pulmonary diseases. And there's plenty of peer-reviewed science that shows this. There's plenty of taxpayer-paid California taxpayer-paid studies that show that living within 2,500 feet of a well is simply dangerous to your health. And that's not okay. And that's why, hundreds of Kern residents called in asking for there to be a separation. 300 foot is not enough, and that's not based in any sound science. What we need is to protect the people of Kern County, because the things that are going into the air are things like PM 2.5, a particulate matter that's so small, it can go into our bloodstreams, it can block our arteries, it can increase things that I've already talked about, like diabetes, heart problems, respiratory issues. These are all things that have been linked to oil and gas production. And Kern County produces 80% of the oil and gas that comes out of California. But we're also the green energy leader of California. And that's what we want to focus on. We want to create a sustainable green energy future for California from Kern County. We're already positioned as leaders. And now we need to, ask people like Governor Newsom to put, their money where their mouth is. He's decided that there's not going to be the sale of gas cars in the near future of California, leaving places like Kern County behind. A transition is needed, yet he's improved permits in the last year, an increase of 130 to 190% increase in permits. So he's willing to sacrifice Kern and our economy to sustain the rest of California so that the rest of California can move forward. Kern County is the green energy leader, and we deserve to lead the way forward. And Governor Newsom needs to make that sustainable for Kern families.
And one more question for you, Cesar. If these wells do get approved, what concerns do you have about the future, the 20, 30, 40 years from now? What is your main concern?
Living in Bakersfield, I remember going to college and reading all of the articles in 2015 where people from all over the nation would come and talk to us like we were the next coal town, like we were a ghost town, because the dip in oil prices caused a crisis in our local economy. I don't want that. I don't want Kern County to be a spectacle for the nation because we need help. We are positioned to be a leader, and that's what we need to do. Overall, the public health crisis that is affecting people in Kern County is happening in these frontline communities, and we see the effects of that because Kern County has amongst the highest rates of emergency visits due to asthma than any other place in California. Bakersfield in our area is amongst the worst air in the nation, due to numbers from the American Lung Association. And that particulate matter, PM 2.5 that I talked about earlier, our air district measures that, and they found that half of the PM 2.5 produced in Kern County comes from only 6 oil and gas companies. So they're producing not only the things that drive climate change, but the things that affect our public health. And that's not okay for residents. Residents deserve to depend on something that is sustainable, not depend on something that can make us a national spectacle and a ghost-like town from one day to another. I don't want that for my friends. I don't want that for my family. And it's hard to want to raise a family here, knowing that the tax base can leave me wondering if this is the best place to raise a family, especially when people like Governor Newsom are willing to sacrifice Kern County families. When we are the leader, we deserve to lead the way. And residents in Kern County have showed this is not safe. I'm not okay with it. They have nosebleeds. They deal with headaches and dizziness, and this is all attributed to oil and gas pollution. Hundreds of studies. It's dangerous to our air and water. A study done in 2016 by the White Wolf Fault Line showed that injection of oil wastewater causes earthquakes. It's proven here in Kern County. It affects our ground, it affects our water, it affects our air, it affects the development of kids. And Kern County has an overall rating, an average rating for schools of 2 out of 10. And that's not okay. We deserve better. And if we diversify our economy, we'll be able to bring that money in and lead the way in the future.
All right. Thank you, Cesar. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Tracy, I also want to get to you as well. Now, you've been a big proponent of oil, even spending decades of your professional career advocating for the energy industry here in Kern County. Can you tell us how important is the oil industry to Kern County, especially when it comes to jobs?
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Alex. It's tremendous. The oil industry is critically important to Kern County. It's not just the 25,000 jobs, nor is it even the hundreds of millions of dollars in economic activity each year. It's the unacceptable reality that without Kern County's invaluable oil and gas industry, 40 million Californians would become largely dependent on foreign oil. And to most of us, that's not an acceptable outcome.
And do you support the new wells that are being proposed? And if so, why?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because nobody does it better than Kern County, producing oil and gas, I mean. And we had the gold standard in environmental health and safety permitting. And that program needs to get back on track. We need to get that program back on track because, like I said, we supply the energy for 40 million Californians. And so we are looking forward to March when our Board of Supervisors takes that program up and gets it back in place so we can continue providing the energy that California needs and not cause us to be reliant on foreign oil.
And last question, I want to ask you the same question that I asked Cesar as well. What lasting effects do you see these new wells possibly having if they do get approved on our community, in the next 20, 30 years? What lasting effects do you see them having here?
I see us being more able to be energy independent, to provide the jobs, to provide the energy that we need. We're all still using petroleum products daily, every single day. So our state should not be dependent on foreign countries for that valuable product. We should make it here. The jobs should be here. The economic investment should be here. And all those benefits of producing it better, cleaner, safer than anywhere else in the world, that happens right here in Kern County. So I look forward to it, actually.
All right. Thank you, Tracy. Thank you, Cesar. Of course, we appreciate both of your time. Thank you so much.